One of the fun parts about my job is that I don't really answer to anybody. Yeah, it's true, I have a duty to you, the viewer out there watching this video, to create content that engages y'all, that y'all can interact with, can respond to, and listen to, because, quite frankly, if I don't do that, then I don't have a job. But what I have learned after doing YouTube for literally over a decade now, since I was a preteen, what I have learned from all my years doing this is that there are multiple ways to grab people's attention. Yes, clickbaity titles and thumbnails work, but at the end of the day, there has to be something to talk about behind it. And that, I think, is the beauty of this all. I don't necessarily have to make videos about the Rangers or the Islanders or the Hurricanes, but when they relate to the Montreal Canadiens, that's when I'm like, yeah, that's a hella interesting topic. And so in this video, what I wanted to do was respond to a clip. This is Jonny Lazarus. I'm sure y'all are familiar with Laz, of course. He does Daily Faceoff stuff, BR Open Ice stuff. He does NESN college hockey stuff. He's all over the hockey world. Pretty big celebrity over here. And he had himself a clip that he posted himself from July 13th, so a few days ago, that did go somewhat viral. 178,000 views. While it's true, I would like to cash in on some of those views. He got the views because this take is pretty hot. He went out there and said on his podcast, I think K'Andre Miller, formerly of the Islander, oh my goodness, I apologize, formerly of the Rangers and currently of the Hurricanes, will end up being a more important piece in Carolina than Noah Dobson will be in Montreal. And I don't think that's a hot take by any means. What do you think? Now, upon first glance, I, like many Canadiens fans, who saw the title and who saw the, first few sentences of this clip, they were like, wait a minute, what? I think that's a hot take. Dobson has been far better offensively on a far less offensive team. I think Montreal is a better fit for his style of play. There are some folks saying that Jonny is spot on. They agree. Brendan, who happens to be a Rangers fan, says, I totally agree. I just hope this trade doesn't come to bite the Rangers back in the behind. I disagree with your take, but not because I think Dobson is going to be amazing. I think Miller is just way overhyped. Carolina would be happy if Miller turns into a piece like Nico Mikkola did for Florida. Dobson will be a huge disappointment in Montreal. Okay, so Tom here is being very double-sided with the shade going both ways. Awful take. Miller might have had his best offensive year ever when he scored 15 goals. Dobson still has more upside and will be in the top power play. No, he won't be. Sorry, Zach. That is not going to happen. Here's a reply that garnered some attention. Absolutely crazy take. Noah Dobson is a #1 D-man. The Isles got outchanced at all times when Dobson wasn't on the ice. Also, there is a trickle-down effect. As Matheson and Carrier drop, all three pairs get better. Miller is a #4 D-man. He might be as good as Dmitry Orlov. And here's the thing. When you go through all these replies and you talk about who it is, plays, what style, it kind of disregards the point that Laz is making in the video clip. I'm not going to play it, even though it was auto-playing just a few seconds ago, because, this is their own podcast. I don't want to steal the content technically. But if you skim through it, you can see the captions here. Jonny goes out there and says here that he does think that Miller will be a better fit for Carolina in their system compared to Noah Dobson in the Habs system, just because of the way that Carolina plays. I think it's better suited for K'Andre Miller. He does say in the clip multiple times that the player K'Andre Miller, he's not better than Noah Dobson. But I think from now, the way K'Andre Miller will play is going to be different than the way that he had played with the Rangers, and it's going to be a lot better in Carolina compared to what Dobson can do with the Habs. And here's the thing. I was listening to Halford and Bruff in the morning here in Vancouver, Sportsnet 650. Halford's actually out. It was Jamie Dodd filling in, but they had, oh my goodness, what's the name of the Carolina guy that they had on the show? Ah, that's right, they had Adam Gold on the broadcast, talking about the Carolina Hurricanes. Not talking about Artur Shilovs, they'd spoken about that before they brought Adam onto the show. But they had Gold on the podcast, and they started talking about the Hurricanes, and they brought up just the way the Canes play and the style that they have, and why K'Andre Miller is a fit, and why he got signed to a $7.5 million deal. Now, I'm not going to go out there and say that all their conversations and the stylistic fit is going to make K'Andre Miller worth 7.5 at this moment. He could be worth that next year, but right now, based off of what he did with the Rangers, I think a lot of folks would say, yeah, no, they overpaid like crazy for that guy. They're taking a big swing on a player who had 27 points in 74 games played this most recent year. One of the biggest things that everybody's been talking about with K'Andre Miller is the idea that he needs to play bigger. You see 6'5", 209. You say, okay, maybe he needs to put on a little bit more weight. Maybe he's not the heaviest guy for 6'5", but also there's this idea that when he's at his best, he's not really physical. He's like kind of moving around guys, he's creating plays, he's scoring, he's doing this. There is an element of physicality that can be improved in K'Andre's game. And that goes hand in hand with playing a tighter paced game, a tighter man-to-man game. Carolina is a system deployed out by Rod Brind'Amour that I think K'Andre Miller can benefit from tremendously. And it's one where if they're able to dig those skills out of this player, they could be getting some significant value here. A lot more than what the Rangers were getting the past few years. When K'Andre is playing a better all-around game, he'll be getting more points, he'll be getting more minutes, he'll be getting more offensive opportunities, and of course he will be going out there and crushing guys. K'Andre is a very intriguing player profile that almost fits to a T what the Carolina Hurricanes want to build. And that's ultimately the point that Lazarus is making here, that after listening to the explanation, I was kind of like, you know what, that does make a lot of sense. Not necessarily saying that Noah Dobson and the style that he plays doesn't fit with the Montreal Canadiens and what it is that they have for their team, but ultimately, you can say that Noah Dobson, in a world where he has declined, he went from 70 points to 39 points, this is not really like the most dire situation where they're going to bring the best out of him, because quite frankly, he's not the most important guy on the D-Corps. Now, you can say the same thing about K'Andre Miller in Carolina, but I think for K'Andre, it's like he's going over to Carolina and they're going to try to boost this guy up. They're going to try to make him better. They're going to try to bring things out of his game that he hasn't had in a while. For Noah Dobson, Marty St. Louis and the Habs are just going to be like, okay, yeah, just do your thing. We don't really need you to be any better. We don't expect you to get 70 points. They would expect Lane Hudson to maybe get 70 points. But just play with Caden Gooley, do your thing. You won't be really tasked with number one power play, so we're just going to let you chill. And as long as you chill, as long as you play all right, that's going to be the value there. We know you can be good. We just want you to stay there. We don't need you to be better. Of course, if he does become better, if he challenges Hudson for number one power play time, then that'd be great. But I generally... I don't want to say I agree that K'Andre Miller will be a better player for Carolina than Dobson will be for Montreal. I think Dobson will always be the better player, but I do think that this trade from New York to Carolina will serve as a bigger opportunity for K'Andre Miller than it is for Dobson. And that's strictly because of what can happen. The upward ceiling of what's untapped within K'Andre Miller's game versus Noah Dobson. For Dobson, it's like, yeah, you were a 70-point defenseman a year ago, but that went away now. And it's now at a point where as long as you produce, let's say 40 or 50 points, and you're playing 25 minutes a night without that top power play time, I think Habs fans are going to be happy. So with all this in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about Lazarus's take here? Do you think K'Andre will be a more important piece in Carolina than Noah Dobson will be in Montreal? Is this a hot take, and do you disagree? I'm kind of right down the middle, honestly. I kind of talked myself into believing it in this entire video commentary, to be honest. Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.